Hello. So I saw a video the other day that Jon Venus did showing how much a week's worth of vegan groceries cost where he was. And it was really funny because it's pretty expensive here in Hawaii, especially Maui probably, but so it's something ridiculous. Like it was like under $17 or something for a week. And there is no way in the world you could do that here. But his point was that being vegan wasn't as expensive as people think. And, you know, everybody knows if you eat total junk, like if you go like to McDonald's and get double cheeseburgers off the dollar menu and things like that, that you can live a lot cheaper in the short run, but then it's really bad for your health, and eventually you start paying for it later in medical expenses. But even if you like eat better, we have Mana Foods, which I just love. It's this really great health food store, and they've been there a long time, so they actually own the place instead of lease it, so they don't have rent to pay for, so the savings goes to us. So it's the best health food store on the island, and I would go there all the time. And when you're in a place long enough and you know your dietary needs and your preferences and everything, you get pretty efficient at being reasonably cheap if that's a priority to you, which it was for me. I had certain macros and micronutrients I wanted, and then I had a certain amount of calories I wanted, and I had taste preferences and stuff, and like cost preferences, and so I was able to meet my needs pretty cheap before I went vegan. It took me a while to adjust when I went vegan, but once I got the food processor, I think it's still more expensive for me, but that's only because at my job Mama's Fish House there used to be a lot of food I could eat for free that isn't vegan, and so there's a whole lot less free food in my diet now than there used to be. The amount I spend when I'm actually out on my own and not at Mama's is less. But I would say that it's not as expensive as people think. But the whole under $17 thing made me laugh, because just a bag of frozen berries, which lasts me like 3 days on my smoothies, is like $13. So, and I like all the micronutrients and antioxidants that those give me, and I like the way they make my smoothies taste, so I'm not going to quit doing that. So yeah, it's definitely a lot cheaper to get stuff where he is. There's just not as much competition or something here. I don't know. It's just stuff's expensive on Maui. But yeah, if you get a food processor, you can definitely drop your bill a lot if you go vegan. And I recommend it because it's the easiest way to get a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet. Like if you watch Brian Turner's channel, he really harps on the importance of fresh vegetables, especially like both his 3 months into veganism and his 6 months into veganism. He really goes off on just how healthy and good that makes him feel. And like I mentioned, when I was tired of all the conflicting dietary advice out there and how everything contradicts everything, so I just started looking at people who actually were healthy, looking at results as opposed to theories, because you get sick of words really fast. You start caring more about results after a while. So like there's this book, Healthy at 100, that studied like the places where the most centurions live and like the most healthy centurions, and they went to 4 different regions, and they didn't do things exactly the same, but like all 4 places, it was psychologically better, like there were better social bonds and stuff. But for the purpose of this video, the other thing they had in common was their dietary thing. They all had a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, especially fresh vegetables. Like they weren't vegans or anything, like the Okinawans would catch fish off their shore and stuff, but they all had a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables in their diet. And then other people I looked up to, like Jack LaLanne, he was all into the fresh fruits and vegetables. And like when he was younger, he had meat and milk because they told him that's what he's supposed to have. But later down the road, he basically just was having fish and all his fruits and vegetables. So again, he wasn't vegan, but he had a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. It just seems like the common denominator. And then when Tony Robbins was doing his diet of excellence to create energy and stuff, he was having tons of fresh fruits and vegetables. So these are people who I see as having a lot of energy, a lot of health, a lot of really good success in their life. And so I like focusing on results more than theories, because all the theories contradict each other and you can get overwhelmed and paralyzed by all that conflicting information. So yeah, it's not as expensive as you think to go vegan, but unless you're really lucky and live somewhere cool like Jon Venus does, I don't think you're gonna pull it off for $16 a week. But maybe you eat way less than me. I eat a lot. I don't eat quite as much as John's brother Leo, but I do eat more than John because I'm not cutting all the time. I'm just a regular guy who lifts weights for strength and doesn't care about my physique. I obviously don't want to look like junk, but it's not a focus. I find that just doing my kung fu and doing my strength training leaves me looking good enough that I don't have to focus on my appearance. I can just focus on my strength and my functionality and my stability, and my body just looks good enough that I'm happy with it. So yeah, just letting you know that it may not be as cheap as he made it look on his video, but it still is very reasonable. Once you figure it out, once you start figuring out what kind of macros your body needs and how many calories your body needs and what micronutrients are important for your activities and your choices, you can set up a diet that makes a lot of sense for you, especially if you have a food processor. It just simplifies it so much because you can just start throwing different things in there for different micronutrients you need, and then you have like everything all in one thing, and it makes it cheaper, it makes it simpler, it makes it more convenient. So definitely highly recommend that you get a good food processor. And just letting you know that even though it's not as cheap as he says, it is cheaper than you think before you switch to it. You just think you're going to be going to all these fancy health food stores paying $1 million a pound for fresh organic vegetables and stuff, and it's a lot more reasonable than you may have perceived it to be.